So, as awareness expands, so too does your awareness of suffering. As your awareness of suffering expands, the only way through that is to be radically accepting that suffering exists in the world. In order to do that, you need to face your own suffering. In coming to a deeper sense of acceptance with what creates your suffering, ironically, your awareness expands and you become aware of the degree to which you've been living in denial of the suffering of others and your own suffering over the course of your life. A part of that journey is recognizing that you went into denial both as a developmental process and as a process of adapting to trauma. So in order to survive in the world, you had to deny emotions, instincts, intuition to varying degrees depending upon what environment you were born and raised in. We all had to go into denial in order to survive, in order to find meaning, in order to find purpose, in order to fit. My perception and my opinion on this has changed a lot over the years as I've expanded my awareness and understanding of how culture and society works, and the fact that in order to survive, in order to thrive, in order to fit, in order to have meaning in society and culture, one must go into a sort of denial. Every single human on the planet has to go into some sort of denial, has to deny emotions, intuitions, instinct, insight, awareness in order to survive, fit, and thrive. And we could argue that without dogma, the journey of becoming and being, the journey of healing, is one of becoming aware of the denial, of the adaptation that we took on in order to survive and find meaning, and becoming more open to, more honest about, and having more access to awareness. Awareness of sensation, awareness of intuition, awareness of insight. These are just words I'm using to describe different forms of accessing awareness. Suffice it to say, awareness is expansive. And if you've ever sort of practiced meditation, if you've ever dabbled in meditation, if you've been on your own healing journey, you're aware that awareness is expansive. I'm using the word awareness because it's the simplest word that I can use. I progressively use simple language because language is so easily used to separate and divide and manipulate. The moment we attach dogma or ideology or emotion to language, it separates and divides. And so I simply use the word awareness because in my own objective experience, I can notice the sensation of my toes. I can notice the sensation of my hands. I can notice the sensation of the space behind my forehead, where presumably I have my thoughts. I can notice and observe thoughts, emotions, memory. All of it is occurring in awareness. Sometimes we use the word consciousness for that. We don't even know what consciousness is. Some scientists or some science type people, some biologists would say that awareness or consciousness is an artifact of sort of the physiology, the physical state of the body. And yet, from modern physics to spirituality, there seems to be a growing consensus that once upon a time there was a nothingness, and that out of the nothingness came the somethingness, and that the best we have is that out of the field, the invisible field of the fabric of the universe that appears to be a nothingness, everything emerges, everything vibrates into being. I think this is why in a lot of religious texts, a lot of mythological stories, things are spoken into being. The very voice and the very breath of God is vibrating everything into being. We want so badly to mythologize and to make God into a person, into a tangible thing that we can hold on to and we can understand and control. And this is only for our own ego. This is for our own safety, for our own sense of control over our own existence. But the reality is, if we are to call something God, well, then we would assume God exists outside time and space. Genesis alludes to this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, if God created the heavens and the earth, then God transcends the heavens and the earth. God transcends time and space. So God is a word, and there's many other words for God that we use to describe the great oneness, the great awareness, the great consciousness, the great source that all things emerge from, that we are all a part of, that we are all expression of. And any attempt to define it gets in the way of it, reduces it, simplifies it, minimizes it. So the contradiction, the irony, the paradox of language is that we use language to try to describe our shared experience, and of course there are systems of power that use language to use and abuse and manipulate and control. But language is only an approximation. It is always and only a very minuscule approximation of reality. I notice it's hard enough for me to use language to describe what I'm experiencing in my own body and in my own mind, let alone to use language to explain to others what I'm experiencing internally. Even more difficult for someone else to receive that and interpret it and make sense of it in a way that allows some sort of coherence between us. So inevitably, language is only an approximation, and it should only be seen as such. The moment we call language truth, then we are buying into some shared secret, some shared idea, some shared doctrine, and that language can easily be used to separate, divide, abuse, and manipulate us. Inevitably, our relationship with God, our relationship with Source, is one that transcends language. And that's why it's personal, and it's energetic, it's experiential, and it is only achieved through surrender, through baptism. And I think baptism as an idea is universal. It is the path to salvation, and that is to remove the barriers between the construct of your mind and body and what we experience as God, as nature, as oneness. And I'm just sharing this because this is what was in my mind in the moment as I was driving around on a Saturday. Take care.